Let's face it, everyone, 2025 is going to be a tough year in the UK and Europe and probably America. Anywhere in the Western world, it's going to be a tough year. I'm in front of a car lot here. There we go, 2018 BMW. It looks like a 3 Series. £9,000. £9,000, absolute waste of money. 2015 BMW, that's 10 years old now. It's 2025, 10 years old, £6,500. That should be £3,000. The most unreliable car going, the Mini Cooper, £8,000. My goodness, absolute junk. However, this is where we are today. Let's plug myself in on this cold winter's morning. Let's get the jacket warm and go and have a talk about what's happening in 2025. In the beautiful town of Stone in Staffordshire. And I'm off to Ashbourne in Derbyshire to meet Mark, who will be on his Triumph Tiger 800. I'm on my Triumph Bonneville T120 and I'm fortunate. This bike is paid for and it's about 6 months old. It's a brand new bike or thereabouts. And today we're talking about what 2025 is going to be like, bearing in mind this is the beginning of 2025. Visor down. So I think it's going to be a really tough year. The latter part of 2024 was tough. You've seen in the UK a number of dealerships going down and shutting down, and that includes car dealerships as well, and there's a good reason for that. Everything's too expensive. Cars are far too expensive. Motorcycles are getting too expensive. So for 2025, Bankrupt is going to be focusing on affordable motorcycles. So when we talk about affordable motorcycles, we're talking about £6,500 and less. Now this is brand new, and we'll also be talking about second-hand machines, of which there will be plenty this year, as people start tightening their belts. Due to new policies in the government when it comes to employers, the employers will be paying more tax to employ someone, and that means they will be letting go of people. They will be letting go of people, so that means unemployment will rise. And that means demand for such things as expensive motorcycles will fall, and expensive cars will fall even further. So it's not looking particularly great for 2025. However, I've had a long, hard think about this, and I think the machines like CF Moto, Royal Enfield, Triumph 400 Speed, and the Scrambler, like I have, will start to be purchased. All the big bikes, £13,000 and above, no, they're going to stop, except for the really rich at the top end of the scale. It's going to be a tough year. It was bad enough the second half of 2024 for motorcycles. In fact, all of 2024, but for 2025, I fear, and I love to be wrong, I'd like to know what your thoughts are, that 2025 is going to be even worse. Much worse. So I'm in a fortunate position. I have a 2024 Bonneville T120, which I bought cash. And I also have a 2024 Scrambler 400X, the Triumph Scrambler 400X. And I bought that cash as well. And the reason why I bought that cash is because I have some cash which I've saved up over the years, and unfortunately with the inflation having been crazy in the UK, the value of my money is plummeting. So I had a couple of good deals on both bikes, the Scrambler and the Bonneville, and I decided to get rid of some of my cash because it was falling in value. And one could say I could invest it, but based on the investment models, it was still losing its value. And so I thought I may as well enjoy it while I can. And I can't see it getting any better. Now, I know the government say that we're about 2% inflation at the moment. Well, that's not true. We all know that. Prices are still going up for food, for fuel, electricity, water, council rates that we pay. And everything's going up. And in conjunction with having very poor pay rises since 2008, the UK economy is in a really bad state. And because it's in a bad state, only a few BMW GS 1300s will get sold, relatively speaking. I suspect the Vosges 900, the DSX 900 is it? At £9,000, brand new, that will be okay. And of course you will see some second-hand ones coming in 2025, and it's going to be interesting to see what their prices are in the second-hand market. But it's going to be a tough year. If you don't think it's going to be a tough year, tell me. Are you concerned about 2025 or are you just not? See now, it's pulling out. I'm indicating. Oh, I don't know. So, it's a really interesting time. I mean, look at this taxi driver. He's tickling his car. The car in front of us is a taxi. For those that don't realise what a taxi looks like, you can see the green plate next to his registration plate, and he's absolutely tickling it. Let's go for it. Because he's desperate not to use fuel. That's where we are in 2025. That guy is desperate to use as little fuel as possible. The problem is he's probably driving it wrong. But he's only doing what he does. He's only doing what he knows. He may be right. What's this one doing? There we are, turning right. So it's a really, it's going to be a really interesting situation, 2025. So what the channel is going to do is focus on the motorcycles that are £6,500 or thereabouts, yeah, and below. We're going to be talking about the Royal Enfields, the Vosges, the Triumph Scrambler and Speed. We're going to be talking about CF Moto. We're going to talk about the lower end of Honda and things like that. We've got the new Royal Enfield Bear coming up. We've got the BSA B65 coming up. We've got the current BSA Gold Stars. They're still good value for money. So that's what we're going to be focusing on this year. I am shortly going to be going to Morocco, and over in Morocco I'll hire out a bike or two, hopefully, and I'll give you some feedback on that. That should be within the next few weeks. There's two ways of doing this. One, I go to a rental place and they rent me a bike out. Or two, I have a word with a couple of taxi drivers who may well own a motorcycle and they will rent their motorcycle or their brother's motorcycle to me for a few days. I've done that before and it ends up much cheaper. As long as it's a reasonable motorcycle, yeah? You don't want to get a wreck of a bike. So it's going to be interesting times. Let's have a look. There we are. It does sound a bit doom and gloom, but I fear that 2025 is going to be crap. Over the last few years, my pay rises at work have been absolutely terrible relative to inflation of the country. That is the UK, and I think my next pay rise in April of 2025 is just going to be as bad. This means that as I have a poor pay rise and it's not keeping up with inflation, I am therefore taking a pay cut. So I have to diverse my time, because time is money. I have to diverse my time to make other money from somewhere else, to make up for the loss of pay rise from my primary source of income. Hang on. There we go. There we go. Oh, by the way, hopefully you can see the Auchi. If you've got some Christmas money, go and buy one. The link's in the description. I think it's about £135. It's a cracking piece of kit. You connect your smartphone to it and you can control all your music and everything through that, through the Auchi. Go and order one, £135. Absolutely brilliant, delivered to your door. Cruise control on, nice and easy. So the motorcycles for 2025 are going to be straightforward motorcycles, not unlike this Triumph T120 or my Scrambler 400X. They'll not have major technology on them, because the technology makes them more expensive. You know, I look at a lot of bikes, the BMWs, the expensive stuff, absolutely riddled, showered with technology, and it's pushing the price up, which is just unaffordable for 2025 for most people in the UK economy, and probably Europe as well. I wouldn't be surprised with KTM going into self-administration if it absolutely failed and someone else bought it in China. I wouldn't be surprised at all. BMW, another expensive group. They might be the next ones to go down. They're just too expensive bikes. Honda did the smart thing. What did they do? They thought, hang on, we're going to go into an economy that's going to burst and going to go downhill. So they brought out the Hornet 1000. The Hornet 1000 starting at £9,000. That's a good price for a Honda. And the SP model at £10,000. If I get my hands on one, I shall certainly do a review of one. And of course at 150 horsepower, it will be brilliant. And because it's Honda, it will be brilliant. We've got the new Speed Twin 1200 from Triumph, the RS. That's some 12 or 13,000, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. For 2025, I fear that's not going to be flying out of the door like it should be. But that's the way it is. It's interesting times for 2025. What's your thoughts on this? Comment below. I mean, you know, I've got about 2 years away to convince my current organisation to keep me on until I get to the age of 60, where I start receiving a couple of small pensions that I accrued, and they're not going to be big, and they're not going to help me in the long term. So hence why we're doing the channel, bringing a little bit of extra cash every month. And other things, of course, and I'll share you those over 2025. He'll not be able to afford his Range Rover. Vehicle excise duty. My current Mercedes, let me flash it up now. I don't need an expensive car because I work from home. That Mercedes cost me £5,500 a year ago. Over in 2025, it's probably worth very little, but that's okay. I'll probably keep this for 5 years. Now we in the UK pay something called vehicle excise duty, which is a tax based on CO2 emissions and all this kind of stuff. That you pay for your car, and my previous year's tax was £240. That's risen to £255. Now the government have said that it's rising in line with the percentile of inflation. Now they say that the percentage of inflation is 2%. Now if you're any good at maths, the difference between 240 and 255 is not 2%, it's just under 6%. So if they're rising it by the rate of inflation, and they're saying that it's going up by whatever percent, then the inflation rate is still 6%. Is this making sense? Mortgages are 6, 7 and 8%. And that's another thing as well. Going into 2025, I'm going to be showing you where you can get a decent loan instead of taking out hire purchase agreements with the likes of Triumph, Honda, CF Moto, Vogue. I mean, Triumph, I believe, are charging something. Triumph and Honda are charging around 9 or 10% interest rates for hire purchase. No. I had a look earlier this morning, and the interest rate for a bank loan was just over 6%. Do not get a hire purchase agreement or a loan from the likes of Honda or Triumph. Go to the bank and have a look at what they're offering. I'm going to be reviewing that when we look at bikes. I'll be saying how much you can pay from the dealer and how much you could have done it if you go through a bank that's charging a lower interest rate. Gone are the days where you have to see a bank manager. It's all online. So you don't need to go through that experience of convincing some bank manager that you can afford it. You can just go online and then it'll get transferred 2 days later into your bank account. I assume. I haven't had a loan for years, and I don't intend to. I've been through all that journey of having expensive cars that I couldn't afford. I've been there, and I ain't going there again. Cash is king. Just buy it if you can afford it, and if you can't, don't get it. Am I ringing true on this with anyone? If you've got this far, I'd be amazed. But yeah, tell me what your thoughts are for 2025. I mean, I look at the stuff in America where they're trying to sell pickup trucks for $100,000. I mean, brand new pickup trucks, and it's like $100,000 for a pickup truck. Now I know my wages in my role are about 2.5, 3 times more than in the UK. So let's say I'm on £50,000. Over in America it'd be $150,000. But then you've got pickup trucks that are going for $100,000. I mean, if a pickup truck in America, in the UK, was going for, let's say, £80,000, no one would buy it. Not anyone. So the economy over in America appears to be slightly different. I believe the average pay in America is somewhere in the region of $75,000 at the moment, generally speaking, across the States. Whereas in the UK, I think the average is still about 29,000. Some people will say it's 35,000. I don't think it is. If you take off the top earners that are on crazy money. It's just a thought. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in the UK. It's a beautiful winter's day. I've got my heated jacket on and my heated gloves, and I feel nice and cosy as I travel out to Ashbourne. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe and ride safely. Always be kind to people. I shall see you soon as I ride on by to Ashbourne in Derbyshire. See you soon. Bye bye.